It could have been great. The third episode of the fourth Steven Bomb and the 76th episode of Steven Universe overall, I believe. Fair warning, there will be spoilers for the episode in this review, and once again, just like with Monday's episode, I mean that in a very severe kind of way, because this episode was, again, very informative. Not as much as the answer was, but still, pretty big deal. The episode opens up, the Gems and Steven have decided to take a break from working on the drill. Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl are watching the sunset, while Steven chills out with Lion and is working on some kind of music, clearly writing a song. And Peridot comes up to him, asking why it is that they suddenly just stopped. She doesn't understand that they need to take a break, that they want to take a break, to just take in the beauty of the planet and relax. Steven specifically puts it that the way they feel is just as important as what they're accomplishing. And Peridot doesn't understand, but as Steven begins to equate music to a mathematical pattern, Peridot seems to find some interest in it and actually ends up singing along with him a bit. She even writes a verse of the song. It was actually a pretty interesting character moment for her, because the refrain is there anything that's worth more than peace and love on the planet Earth? And each of the Gems sing it once, including Steven and Peridot. And while the others sing it as something as a statement, Peridot sings it as something like a question, and you can see that she's maybe right there where she's just starting to come around to understanding why life on Earth can be a great thing. It may not be for her. It may not be for the other Homeworld Gems, but you can kind of feel that she is starting to come to the understanding that it might be a valid way of life for others. And through the power of 80s montage, as this song is going on, they finish the drill. It's done. But they don't have coordinates for where exactly it is that the cluster is implanted beneath the surface of the Earth. It's not actually at the core of the planet. It's just near the core of the planet, within the mantle somewhere. And without proper coordinates, they would have to dig blindly, and they would never actually be guaranteed to find it. And Pearl points out that there is still a diamond base that might have the information, but that diamond base is located on the moon, which doesn't have a warp pad, which incidentally disproves the theory that they are warping to the moon in the new opening sequence. So Steven and Peridot actually sit kind of half within Lion's pocket dimension, and the other three ride on his back, and he warps them to the moon. And he gets really tired out because of it. It was actually pretty cute, because Steven had to entice him first to do it, and then he just kind of passes out, and Steven's all sweet about it. It was a cute little scene. But they land in this room that has the original 4-diamond insignia, the pre-war Diamond Authority insignia on the floor. And yes, it is called the Diamond Authority. We now know this as a fact because Peridot specifically calls the diamonds the matriarchs of the Diamond Authority. And as they are getting up after they warp into the room, as they are standing up because they all kind of fell over, you can see there are stylized, yet still very detailed depictions of the 4 diamonds on the walls. And we see 3 of them. We see Blue Diamond first. Big surprise, we've already seen Blue Diamond. Then we see Yellow Diamond, and she is very definitely the same gem that was shown in the extended opening sequence at San Diego Comic-Con. And then as they are ascending some stairs, we see White Diamond. But they are very, very careful never to show us Pink Diamond, though we do get to see just the very bottom of her image, so we do know it's there, which means whether Rose is Pink Diamond or associated with Pink Diamond or half of Pink Diamond or whatever, the reveal of Pink Diamond is still a spoiler. So they're ascending these stairs, and there is one level to this diamond base that is not pertinent to what they're doing there, and it's literally just this globe floating in this kind of light pillar thing, and Garnet steers them away from it because they don't need to go there. What the heck is it? I really want to know. And there's not even enough information there to theorize about what it could be. It's driving me nuts. But from there, they go to the very top of this moon base spire to this room that seems like it has a control seat that was built for White Diamond. It is all white. It has a little white gem embedded in one of the arms of the chair. And as it is pre to early war technology, Peridot doesn't really understand it, but it has the same handprint interface, minus the rose quartz insignia, that was used in Rose's secret armory, so Steven is able to activate it. He knows how. And he actually gets Peridot, he entices Peridot to sit in what I'm assuming is White Diamond's chair. And at first she's really adverse to it, because she's already shown, when she's showing us the image of Yellow Diamond, she's already shown how, like, extreme her devotion to her diamond is. It's actually kind of reminiscent of Pearl's devotion to Rose. But once Steven actually entices her to sit in the chair by saying, well, the diamonds aren't here right now, are they? You can see she actually enjoys the rebellious act, which I thought was really telling and really speaks to the direction her character could go in going forward. And they bring up an image of the Earth, and it's one of those folded out images that you'll see on a world map. And we get the first clear look at just how different the Earth is in this alternate world that Steven Universe takes place in. And just, if you're watching this episode, if you go back and rewatch this episode after the review, or if you haven't seen it yet, and you go to watch after the review, try to pause on that image of the Earth and just look at how many things are radically different than what you would expect them to be compared to our own planet Earth. It's pretty interesting, and it speaks to just how complete the alternate history of this alternate world is that the writers have created. Moving on with the plot of the episode, because I kind of went off on a tangent there. They locate the cluster. It was inserted into the ground at the Beta Kindergarten, which Peridot specifically calls the other kindergarten, implying that there's only two. And she said that it is a smaller kindergarten, which also implies that there were probably gems made there that are less common than amethysts and therefore are not as common as amethysts in terms of, their cast. So I'm kind of interested to find out if it was more quartz gems that were made there, in which case this could be where jasper was made, or if it was a different type of gem entirely. And I expect now that the name of the location has been dropped in the episode that we're going to see that eventually. So here's hoping we find out. And they take note of the location of the cluster, where it is beneath the planet, relative to where it was inserted into the planet. They have what they came for, but Steven lingers at the controls and gives Peridot an opportunity to go through a list of all of the structures that were planned to have been built on the planet. Several of them I didn't recognize at all, which means that either they're locations we haven't been to yet in the show, or they're locations that were never actually built. Either way, I find it fascinating, and I want to know what they are. And then Peridot goes a step further and shows the projection regarding what the Earth would have looked like after colonization was complete, and rattles off all these figures. I mean, I couldn't remember all of them. I didn't write them all down, because it's not really important exactly what those figures are so much as just how radically different the Earth would have been. It's literally hollowed out. There are some surface areas left, but the Earth is mostly just the core of the planet, a few surface areas, and then just a bunch of gem structures slapped on top of them, with these light paths running around the planet that I assume are meant to represent warps. It was a mess. It really brings home the impact that the gems would have had on the planet if they had stayed here. The statements that the crystal gems have made, that they fought to protect the Earth because what the gems were doing would have caused the extinction of all life on the planet, is absolutely literally true. Nothing except gems could have lived here anymore once this process was finished. And Peridot is really impressed by the image. She's going on and on about how it could have been great, hence the title of the episode, because it would have been so beneficial to the Gem Empire. New gems would have been created. Their empire would have been expanded. They would have made efficient use of every material on the planet. And she sees it as being beneficial to her and her people, and she doesn't care about the people who are already here. She seems like she's coming around to appreciating the Earth, but at this point you can tell absolutely that if she was still given the opportunity, she would choose her own people over the people of Earth in a second. And then she does the unthinkable, at least from the perspective of Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, and she insults Rose Quartz. She says that if Rose hadn't started the rebellion, the cluster wouldn't have been implanted in the Earth, and this whole situation wouldn't have come to pass, and therefore Rose's rebellion was a failure because she didn't save the Earth, and she prevented all of these new gems from being made here. And we now know a little bit more of the context behind the creation of the cluster. It was only created after it became apparent that the rebellion was going to succeed and that the Earth was no longer a viable colony, which puts in context Garnet's statements in Keeping It Together, where she is saying she couldn't have known, referring, I think, to Rose. I think Ruby and Sapphire were wondering within Garnet if Rose knew when she started the rebellion that Homeworld might create the cluster and leave it behind to destroy the Earth anyway. And it was very interesting and very telling and put a lot of things in context, which is something that this show is really, really good at doing. And of course, Peridot doesn't understand why the rest of them are upset, because from her perspective, she's just stating facts. Rose made a decision which led to this outcome. Whether she intended it or not, it is still a fact that that is the decision that she made, and therefore she's responsible for it. The decisions that she made have very likely doomed the Earth, therefore Rose Quartz is responsible for the doom of the Earth, from Peridot's perspective. And from a straight-up logical sense, she's actually kind of correct, but that's entirely beside the point. What matters here is that Peridot wasn't trying to offend anyone, she was just stating base fact. And so she's completely confused when the others react very strongly. Garnet destroys the console. And Peridot, I think as a response to this, makes a split decision to grab the white gemstone that was embedded in the arm of the control chair and takes it with her, and she doesn't tell anybody about it. Steven, though, sees her take it, and now he knows that she has it and that she's intending to do something with it, and that's where the episode ends. This episode revealed a lot. Like I said, it wasn't as big a reveal as The Answer, but it did drop a lot of things into place, things that we could only speculate about before, put a lot of stuff in really cool context, gave us some very detailed, very definitive looks at some things that we've only gotten kind of cursory glances at before this in the show. And it's set up for the next episode. I don't know if it's actually setting up for the next 2 episodes, because I know the creators of the show don't plan out these Steven bombs ahead of time. This is all Cartoon Network's doing. So I doubt what's set up here is going to directly correlate to Friday's episode, but it is definitely going to directly correlate to tomorrow's episode. I would actually imagine that tomorrow's episode is going to more or less pick up exactly where this one left off. This was an interesting episode. Peridot sang. It had some cute moments, but overall, it just felt like this overwhelming build-up to something bigger with a lot of dread heaped on top of it. And quite honestly, I'm not going to say whether or not I really liked or disliked this episode until I see where it's going with tomorrow's episode, because I definitely feel like they're meant to be viewed together, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like how Mirror Gem is a good episode, but it only really becomes a great episode once you see Ocean Gem. But guys, if you have seen this episode, what did you think of it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.